Hey everyone, Mike Miller with the Herald-Times, joined by columnist Andy Graham, coming to you from Memorial Stadium after Indiana's 27-22 loss to Nebraska here on homecoming. Still looking for that first homecoming win in 6 years under Kevin Wilson.
Yeah.
Came darn close last year against Rutgers. Sorry to even bring that up. I should have been watching that game.
You're just adding, ladling on
I
the
know,
pain.
that's not fair.
Point.
I'm sorry. And frankly, this was a winnable game today. Defense played well once again. Special teams played well, although perhaps a little bit limited. We'll get to that with Griffin Oaks a little later. But once again, it was the offense that really dragged Indiana down.
Yep.
We're at the midway point of the season, and this is an offense. It's just not clicking. It's not running. There's a lot of issues going on all over.
Not good enough.
It's just not good enough.
Nope. No, it's not. And as you say, there are issues all over. Richard Lego was erratic. He was better late than early today.
Yeah, he was.
Really had a fantastic drive after Indiana. When Indiana just had to have one in the fourth quarter, he went 4 for 4 for like 75 yards. Like bang, took about a minute. But before that, really. It really comes down to offensive line play for me, as most things do when you're talking about offense. Right now, they're not consistently opening running lanes. They're not consistently protecting the quarterback. How many sacks did Nebraska have today?
Three. Last I checked.
It's just and Lego was under pressure and getting hit a lot. Whether
it was blitzes or even the front was creating.
Yeah, he can make better throws. The guys had a couple of drop passes today, that kind of stuff. Things can always be better in terms of the backfield guys, but if it's not happening up front, generally it's just not going to be happening.
Right.
Because the line provides the context in which plays can be made. And so it's just not happening right now. There's no other way to spin it other than to say that this Indiana team is really missing Dan Feeney and really missing Dimitri Camille on the front line because they had grown pretty accustomed to running on the right side of the line successfully over the last couple of years and pulling Feeney to run to the left side of the line, that kind of stuff. It's just not happening. And I don't know. Unless that changes, maybe this is just who they are.
Yeah, and you know what? I totally agree. There's no question they're missing Dan Feeney and Dimitri Camille on that right side of the line. Again, that's an NFL caliber right side of the line. But yet again, I think that this program likes to talk about how they've built their offensive line. They've built that foundation, starting with the offensive line. I think Greg Fry is a tremendous coach, and I think he rightly gets a lot of national praise for what he's done here. And again, they've done a great job building this offensive line. But I still think they got guys, and we're just not seeing them play very well.
I'm not sure what the deal is, to be honest with you, but it's difficult. You have a true freshman left tackle.
Yeah, sure.
Who's learning on the fly, learning on the job.
Sure.
A really talented kid, but once again, he's 270 or something like that, and he's just trying to play left tackle in the Big Ten. You took Brandon Knight, who was used to playing left tackle or even a little bit of tight end, move him to right tackle, and that's a new position for him.
Yeah, it is.
It's just different. There's been enough patchwork there. You're missing 2 NFL caliber guys, is what I think. Camille is probably going to get a look in the NFL too. And
I think
Feeney, assuming Feeney ever plays, regains his health from his concussion issues, he certainly is going to play in the NFL. So I just think, even good programs, if you're talking about 2 NFL guys, maybe Ohio State can replace that readily, but it's more difficult for most programs to do that. And, we'll see. Maybe, Coach Wilson was talking after the game about, getting the new quarterback, getting the young tackles, getting everybody up to speed and get things clicking. Well, we're halfway through the season now. It's like, that's what needs to happen, but it isn't happening. And you have to certainly one has to give some credit to who they're playing right now.
Sure.
That's 3 straight ranked teams. They all play pretty decent defense, and so that's part of the issue too. There's no doubt. It isn't like they're struggling against inferior opposition. That's not true. But it's a high standard that you have to make. The bar is set really high when you're playing in the Big Ten East. That's what we're doing right now. Nebraska's 6-0. They're ranked number 10. They have a good chance to win the Big Ten West now.
Sure.
And that's not going to change. Indiana has a challenging game on the road next week against Northwestern. So we went into October thinking, Indiana needed to win at least one, and winning a couple of games in October would be, really kind of a feather in their cap in terms of moving forward and what they want to get done this season. Well, they got one more chance now to win in October, and they'll have a chance to win that game, but they've got to start playing better offensively, and they have to start playing better offensively earlier in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, Indiana's offense did not score a touchdown today until the final snap of the third quarter, and it took a trick play to do that.
Yeah.
It's a really nice trick play. That play's worked twice now against
Yeah.
Michigan State and against Nebraska. It's a Divine Redding faking a reverse. But yeah, I mean, they can't just count on trickery. They're going to have to be able to move people out of there, and if people are stacking the box, they got to make people pay when they do that, and it's not happening consistently enough right now.
It also seems to a degree to get, spin it back to Griffin Oaks just briefly. It also seems they can't really count on the kicking game too, because he's had a what Wilson calls a slight quad pull, so he's not 100% either. So they haven't. So I guess if you look at some of those fourth down decisions today, especially that Wilson said was part of the reason.
Well, he made the only field goals he tried.
He did from 36 and 45 yards.
One of them was from 45, although it barely got there. So yeah, I mean, and we've been used to seeing Oaks kick off into the end zone. I mean, one of the strengths for Indiana has been, Oaks producing touchbacks a lot of the time, and that isn't happening as often now because of that. So yeah, I mean, it's Indiana would really benefit from getting Dan Feeney back in the mix, I think. And once again, that's not to denigrate the guys who are out there playing overly much. I mean, a lot is being asked of them. You've got guys in new positions. You've got guys who are being asked to step up. And it isn't like the play is terrible all the time, but it just isn't, which is certainly not true. I mean, a lot of times the play is pretty good up front, but it's not good enough consistently enough. They're having issues sustaining drives, and and especially finishing drives.
Finishing drives, huge.
I mean, they move the ball in the middle of the field, and then it seems like once they get to the opposition's 40 and on in, it just really tends to bog down.
Yeah, and we saw them trying to make a couple quick fixes today. The most obvious was inserting Xander Diamont in the second quarter.
Temporary spark.
Yeah, and it totally worked. It totally worked. But I mean, then again, I mean, he's still just a guy who's he's got maybe one or two tricks, and Nebraska really honed in on that after he got the first. They adjusted and they really locked down the running game all day. But once they figured out Diamont was just kind of going to run for most of the day, and I mean, he threw it a little bit, but it's just not there.
Well, and I like the fact that they let him throw it deep once. We've seen in practice he can throw.
He can throw it. I mean, you see it today.
And I think you can't be predictable when you make that change. I mean, the other defense is going to set to take away the read option and the quarterback keep off of that. And so, okay, you're going to do that. We're going to fake. We're going to fake the read option, fake the keep, and throw it, and really make him keep him honest. If Xander's going to be effective, they have to vary the kind of plays that he's going to run. And he can't just be a read option keeper all the time. And I think that they did that. I mean, they let him throw deep once, which was good because you got to show it. Even if it's not complete, you got to make them respect the vertical game a little bit with him out there. But look, Lego's the guy. Lego's going to be the guy that you rise or fall with. That's how it's going to be. He certainly has ability. I think he's a really good kid. I kind of get that impression too. He's smart, and I think that the kids like him, and I think that he's fit into the chemistry of the team just fine.
Yeah.
And he has ability, and now it's just a matter of smoothing it out and making him more consistent. But once again, it's hard for a quarterback or any of the backs to make plays consistently if the offensive line isn't doing well up front. I mean, that's just what it is. They have to provide the foundation upon which plays can be made. If Richard doesn't have time, he's not going to complete the passes, or he's going to throw a pick, or whatever. I mean, we've seen Divine Redding be a really good, solid back in this league, but it's hard to be effective when their holes just aren't there.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing right now. I mean, Indiana's used to having a doggone good offensive line and kind of controlling the line of scrimmage up front, and right now it's not happening against good defenses.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of things we're not used to seeing, especially over the last couple of years. Frankly, the defense is one of those too. They played another really solid game today.
Solid game.
T. Gray Scales, another double-digit tackle performance. I think he had 12. That guy's so good. I'm telling you.
8 solos, 2 tackles for losses, and he's turning into like an All Big Ten.
He is. He's on pace for 100 tackles.
Sharp fans playing like an All Big Ten player.
Yeah, I think overall they held Nebraska 10 points and 120 some yards, maybe over 100 yards. I mean,
Nebraska had
under their season average.
Had 17 points in the first quarter, one of which was a pick six. All right, so the offense scored 10 points. Then after that, they didn't score until they had a 72-yard touchdown pass in which Indiana had two defenders. They had three guys there for the ball, and two of the defenders collided, and it took everybody for Indiana out of the play and turned into a 72-yard touchdown. So the defense had held Nebraska from the fourth quarter till then, and once again, it was kind of a freak play. Yep. I mean, all of the freak plays kind of went Nebraska's way in terms of the bounces today.
Even the safety.
That's what I wrote my column about. I mean, look, Indiana didn't do enough to win the game, which I said in my column too, but holy cow. I mean, even the safety, as you mentioned, Indiana blocks a punt. Great play. Chase Dutra was credited. He was one of a host of Hoosiers who were there to block it. But the ball goes out over the end line. So what would have been an Indiana touchdown if the ball stays in the end zone turns into a safety, which is great, but isn't optimal. You want the touchdown there if you block the punt. So there's that. The call at the end, the fumble, he was ruled down instead of a fumble on the 20.
But did you talk about the Marcelino ball?
The Marcelino ball thing. I mean, the game the play that set the tone, and that's how I led my column with, was, it was a bomb Nebraska threw here down the west sideline, and Marcelino ball covered it. It's in really good position, actually. And the ball came in, and, Marcelino deflects it. And as it's coming down, as he's landing, I mean, he has a chance to pick it off, too. And it kind of thuds off of his torso. And while he's trying to corral it, it pops up in the air long enough for Brandon Riley, the Nebraska receiver, who's also on his back, to reach out and snag it for a 45-yard completion that set up Nebraska's first touchdown. It was that kind of day for Indiana. I mean, they didn't get the breaks, and they didn't make enough of their own breaks to overcome it. But, you're still talking about a 27-22 game against the nation's number 10 ranked team. So I don't want to, I don't want to bury the Hoosiers here. I mean, they're a capable team. They're at least a middle of the pack Big Ten team, but they have to learn how to finish drives. They have to get offensive line play sorted out so that it's more consistently effective. They have to score more earlier in the game. They can't just count on getting to the fourth quarter all the time. That's only panned out once so far, and it was in overtime against Michigan State. Most of the time, if you're playing a team like Ohio State or Nebraska, I mean, they're pretty explosive. You can't necessarily count on your defense just holding them off forever. Right. You got to score points, and today Indiana didn't score enough of them.
Well, from here to Evanston, another homecoming game. This one for the Wildcats will be up there Saturday afternoon. I believe that's a noon Eastern kick.
Yep.
So back on the early schedule next week. Yeah, it's another opportunity. Northwestern's kind of getting in gear a little bit here as they hit the midway point. So I think it'll be a good game, winnable game. Obviously, I think Indiana, they play well. They figure out some of these things. I think that they can, without question, I think they can go out there and get a big road win. We'll see what happens Saturday at noon. We'll see you there.
Thanks.